the next thing. If we're going to maintain rural Nevada, then it can't be what I think a lot want it to be, and that's a mini Las Vegas. I think one of the charms here, one of the reasons I love it here so much is you kind of can feel like, hey, leave me alone. You know, let me do my
That's
thing.
the attitude.
Yes, and you want it. And I don't think you get that attitude when you have someone that works for a water utility company claiming that he's going to let well owners keep their water. If people want to believe that, go ahead. I have a difference of opinion. But going back to this, we have to immediately put a moratorium on development. We need to see where our water level is for real. Let's stop developing. Don't tell me that we have a crisis and then build a lot of little matchbook homes requiring water while we have a crisis. It seems to me that we don't really know, much like this virus, but developers seem to want to create an issue for us in positioning themselves to develop. But then you have to have a connection to a water company, so then that can take over the water, because then they can regulate it and do well. But then you also have a connection to someone in the state. It was up in northern Nevada. I don't know if you remember reading about that, where you had the developers, the water utility company, and someone at the state level all working in cahoots. Yeah. So you really need those three things. So you'd have to have a developer, you'd have to have someone involved in water, and you'd have to have someone involved in the state. So if we have someone that's family's involved in development, water, and has someone in the state, we'd want to be concerned.
Okay, now these programs, like we talk about transportation funding, education funding, health funding, as a conservative and a sworn no new tax pledger, how would you propose funding these changes? Because really we're talking, we need investment here in the rural part of Knight County and in Lincoln County, and even rural, whatever the districts that you would be representing out towards Logandale and those areas. How about funding this? How would you propose funding it?
See, and this is where experience and education on a particular subject really does matter, because most people think, okay, like I said earlier, more counselors in the school. So, you know, you're asking me the question, so it kind of kills my rebut if my opponent uses it against me. So I'm glad we're on the record here, and I got to expose it now. How it works is we have a lot of master's level therapists, a lot of master's level counselors that need practicum sites before they can become fully licensed. They're interns.
Okay.
I would propose immediately that all schools become practicum sites. One licensed supervisor could have under them as interns 10. Now all of a sudden we got 11 therapists at a school. Know how much it costs us? Zero. Nothing. We do not have to raise taxes to increase our health care, our education, and have people available. It's a win-win. We don't have the right people in the position. That is the most logical thing. It makes so much sense, right?
So this would be like their apprenticeship time of their career, and they would be getting a place to do that.
Absolutely. We have a licensed individual, which already have it at practicum sites. Why isn't that licensed individual at the school? Why aren't they overseeing 10 master's level interns? Now we have a child that has an issue. We have it for them. It doesn't cost us a penny. And these master's level individuals want these hours. They need these hours to get licensed. It's win-win-win. Now that's the only one I'm going to reveal right here and now, because my opponent will probably be screaming tomorrow that he's on the committee for it, because he'll be appointed to some committee. But so I want everyone to know this is an idea I've had for a couple years, been talking about for a while. It is so logical, it's win-win, and we raise not one tax dollar. Zero. And I have plans for that for virtually everything.
Well, right now in your life and in your past, what type of committees have you served on or been participating in that work towards the solutions to these problems we've been discussing?
Well, you talk about committees, and committees are viable. I've been too busy doing the work. I'm right now, Dave Marlin, who's the president of the State of Nevada Association of Addiction Professionals, has asked me to be on that committee, and I've turned him down numerous times. I don't have the time to be on that committee because I'm too busy actually active in doing the work. And committees have relevance as long as the right people are on them. We should not have people that aren't experienced and don't have the proper education on them. But I can better serve by actively starting and helping something, a treatment center, than sitting on a committee. Now, one of my reasons for running for legislature is it allows my reach to exceed my grasp. I have limitations on how much time I have, but if I can implement programs that, based on my education and experience, I know firsthand it will have immediate impact, of which I have a lot of experience in these areas, then no one's going to argue. It'll be very bipartisan. That bill I just told you about, who's going to argue with that? It's fiscally smart, it's compassionate, it's the right thing to do, it helps family, it improves education. Who's the no vote? We as the minority, I'm so sick and tired of hearing we're the minority and we can't get anything done. You know what? Quit whining and start working. We need to be reaching out to the moderate Democrats and pulling them over by legislation that makes sense, that they can't say no to, or they will be voted out, and then we'll inch our way back into power. You know, we have an opportunity now, because we are the minority, to be louder. We can do that.
But
now.
you would need to work across the
Absolutely.
party lines. Are you prepared to work across the party lines?
Absolutely. Moderate Democrats. Let's go to gun control just for a moment. Everyone thinks Republicans like firearms and Democrats hate them. That's not true. Democrats like their guns too. Democrats believe in the Second Amendment too. Not all of them, but I would say most of them believe in the Bill of Rights, Second Amendment in our Constitution. A lot of them don't know enough about certain things. When I hear certain individuals talking about firearms and they think AR-15, AR means assault rifle, I think to myself, they don't even know what they're talking about. They have no idea. Nor do they know what an assault rifle is when it's a semi-automatic, one trigger pull, one expenditure of a round. But that being said, if we educate them, like with this bill, what Democrat would say no to free mental health in the schools from master's level? There's no Democrat that would say no. Republicans will love it. It's fiscally smart. Democrats will love it because it'll fall into their ideologies as well. The governor's going to love it because he's a Democrat, but you know what? The bill is sound, and it's a fiscally conservative bill that just happens to be bipartisan. And that's just one. I can go case in point. I have specific ideas for everything. I spend a lot of time giving them.
Are these listed on the website that you mentioned?
If you go specifically in taxes, I call it government addiction. See, addiction is a compulsion that has negative consequences. And our government is addicted to power. And you see that right now. People want to be in power. They want to be in power so bad they'll say and do anything to maintain power. One way to exert power is through a tax. It causes people to have to react to what you've just done. And so the negative consequence, of course, is to the people. I developed, which is real common in the addiction community, the 12 steps. So I took that same concept and I call it my 12 steps for government addiction.
Recovery from government addiction.
Absolutely. And it goes step 1 through step 12. Just so you know, step 1, read and know the Constitution. Let's just start fundamentally, before we're arguing about the Constitution, let's make sure people know what it even is. It's amazing how many people I know that don't even know the preamble.
Okay, your district is, like I started off earlier, is made up of, metro. I mean, you just have to consider north of Las Vegas.
Well, very northwest Clark County.
Yeah, but it's a high density area there. And then you've got this rural part. It's kind of a, ugly step cousin type event going on here, people-wise. So rural lifestyle is huge here for the people that have been living here for years. I've been here 17 years, but a lot of people you're going to run into have been here for generations upon generations of ranchers and farmers and people that really want to hold on to this. And there might be some fear in them about you coming from the big city. How could you really adequately represent the rural part of the state when your opponent might be from the rural part of the state?
Well, I would first say that my opponent should get out and see the country. It is a beautiful country, and maybe he should get out and gain a little experience and not just rely on his family name. I was born on the East Coast, lived in numerous states on the East Coast. Then my family had moved to the West Coast before California became what it is today. Mm-hmm. When it started making that turn about 20 years ago, I came to Nevada, back when Nevada was red state Nevada. Loved it. I've seen a lot of places, lived a lot of places, seen a lot of things. That's how you gain experience. We don't gain experience by being myopic. You have to see everything and then draw from it what works and what doesn't. My belief comes from that. When you talk about Las Vegas is it's a very nice city. You go, I want to do this, I can go do it. I want to do this, I can go do it. I come out to Pahrump, exact opposite. I want to relax and not be bothered. I can relax and not be bothered. So I love that duality that we get to enjoy. Just an hour separation. I can feel like I'm in the middle of the Wild West.
You are.
Or I can feel like I'm in the middle of a big metropolis, which I am. Now, where I live in the northwest area, to kind of give you a framework, I'm only about 10 minutes from Mount Charleston and 15-20 from Indian Springs. I'm way up. So when you say rural, yeah, it's not just Nye County's rural. You start, where I'm at, you get to Indian Springs, you're right across from Creech Air Force Base. It's a rural area, and so I keep moving. Pretty soon, I don't know where I'm going to end up being, because as the population comes in around me, I keep moving so I can have a little breathing room. So I love this duality. So the answer to the question, why should they be afraid? They shouldn't. I want to keep this wonderful town exactly the way it is. And I don't want to change it any more than I want to take Las Vegas and have it be anything other than a 24-hour, always happening city. I want to have that city that I can go to when I want to and experience Las Vegas life. And I want to have this town so I can have the peace and quiet and go outside at night and it's so dark that I can hear a coyote, and it's so quiet I can hear a coyote so far away. I want my cake and eat it when it comes to living in Nevada. I wouldn't change a thing, and you have to come from other places to appreciate it. When this is all you've known, you don't really know how it can turn and through your developing change it. I don't think my opponent has enough education or experience outside of rural Nevada to understand that how some of his decisions might be inadvertently destroying rural Nevada. It's like socialism. People that like socialism like it because they don't know what it is. If you're developing and think, oh, we're developing, we're getting bigger. No, what you're doing is slowly destroying our rural life. I know what rural life is. I know what city living is. That's why I can create a separation and keep them both the way they are.
Okay, now we've hit on a no new tax pledge, transportation, Yucca Mountain, education, healthcare and coronavirus, jobs, water situation, rural lifestyle, and one final question would be on rural health care outside of mental health, rural health care for the places like Gabbs and Tonopah and Beatty and Amargosa Valley, that don't have access to health care like you and I are used to. What is your position on trying to bring rural health care to those areas? Good, decent rural health care.
Well, I think I have
pay for it.
Right. I think I have kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'll come back to that. I'll loop around. But let me start out by saying what we can't do is rely on government for it. We just learned that, didn't we, in Tonopah, the hospital that closed down. I believe, what is it, Thomas Jefferson that said a government big enough to give you everything is strong enough to take it away?
Right.
That's what they did in Tonopah. Here, we're funding this. You have this. Oh, we're taking it away. People need to be self-sufficient, not rely on government. And so when I was talking earlier, if we create incentives for healthcare workers in all branches of healthcare, we're not going to have to produce it or make it. They're going to want to, because the reality is we have to live. People are fundamentally compassionate. People that are in the healthcare industry, we're compassionate people and want to help. that being said, it's also business, and you have to live and maintain a business. It's a line that you have to walk. If you give incentives for a healthcare provider to be compassionate, they're going to take it. And I think we need to also expand on our telehealth. I think we can, if a person is seen and we get eyes on, which I think is critical, and we get initial evaluation, you can often, prescribers can do follow-ups often, from a telehealth standpoint, and they don't have to make that drive. They can, for the appointment. And we can also expand that for mental health, for all branches of medicine and in all areas of our healthcare. So it isn't as big an issue, and it goes back to what I said. We're not going to do it by taxing, because by taxing it's limited, and if we punish people, they don't do it. But if we make it to where they get a benefit by doing the right thing, people are almost always going to do the right thing.
Okay, well, Doctor, do you have anything else that you'd want to add to the voters out there before the primary, which I believe is June the 9th? That any events you have coming up, anything else you want to add?
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is, I trust the people. At the end of the day, my only agenda, I have no personal gain from this other than to really do the right thing. There's no benefit to being in this office other than to do the right thing. And I think character, morality, integrity, the people we associate with, what we have to gain from, should be considered by the people. And so what I say to the people is, if you think my opponent, who was not voted in, I always kind of joke, he didn't even vote for him. I always wonder, who did he vote in the last election? Because it was either me, Oscarson, or Hoff. I voted for me. I wonder who he voted for. He didn't run for it. So if you think this individual that's never campaigned, never earned it, and you feel good about voting for him, and he's going to lead you to the state that you want to have, then that should be easy for you. If you like what I have to say, if you trust me, believe me, and see that I am a hard worker, and that I'm not in this for name recognition, I'm not in this for power, I'm in this for one really kind of sappy reason. I am a believer, and I truly want to serve the people, and that's it. So it's up for the people to decide.
Well, thank you, Dr. Joseph Bradley here, again, candidate for Nevada Legislative Assembly District 36. I want to make a statement here for you listeners out there. If you are a candidate for office, I will sit down and interview, and I right here at the Senior Center right now. I've done several interviews here, so this would be a good place if you wanted to meet me down there and answer the questions, put your best foot forward. Then I'm open to that. You can contact me at 775-419-4577. I'm also on 98.1 FM radio every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. And if you'd like to be interviewed on the radio show, again, get in touch with me at 775-419-4577. Thank you, Dr. Bradley.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nevada.
Good luck.
Thank you.